Real stories from the team in Northern California's country radio station. Jen, Dano, and Amber and Tanner in the morning. You are inside Froggy 92.9.
Welcome to the first episode of 2021 of the Inside Froggy 92.9 podcast. We have officially survived most of the apocalypse.
Golf clap, everybody.
We've been off for a few weeks. Holidays, and truth be told, we have a challenge here in the building in that we have a bunch of studios, but only one has 4 microphones. So we have to work scheduling, and then we've got distance learning, and then Amber and Tanner are here at 5 a.m., and they can't be recording at 5 p.m., and all kind of contributed to a few weeks off, but we're working on some new tech setup to try to make things happen. And I thought today, guys and gals, could just be sort of a catch-up. We usually make a big formal thing about what's your story. I just kind of wanted to see maybe something you learned from 2020 and something you're looking forward to in 2021, and that's it. Maybe not even a full episode. Just some guys and gals chatting, gabbing.
Shooting the stuff.
I brought all my knitting.
All of it?
All of it.
Yes, I can share.
Okay.
And I have the Lysol wipes for the knitting needles.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, thank God.
I came prepared, y'all.
So
Does anyone actually know how to knit?
Oh, I tried to learn once, and
Sorry, Dano.
I literally was about to get violent, and Katie's like, "No, you're totally." I'm like, "Turn this YouTube how-to video off. I don't want to know how to knit. I understand I'm old."
Jen, you're the only person that could take knitting to a violent extent.
I was like, I don't want to learn how to knit. It's really sweet that you think that I am actually 102 years old, but I don't want to learn how to knit.
Melanie knits very well.
That's awesome.
But I would watch her get 75% through an 18-hour project and realize she made a mistake.
Oh,
and
no.
had to go back.
Yeah, no. I don't have that kind of patience.
Nah, dog.
No, dog. That's a no from me, dog.
That's a no from me, dog. So who wants to jump in? Who wants to jump in with something that they learned in 2020?
I think that I learned that I'm even more resilient than I thought that I was. I don't deal with change very well. Lots of changes last year.
Just a bit.
So the whole, some of the staff was working from home, and we were still having to work through being here in the office and being safe, and then even just the mental space of being like, okay, I am leaving the studio. I have to wipe this down with, just learning the new habits of sanitizing everything and hand sanitizer and blah, 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 blah. And then, my cat died. That was traumatizing. So I think that a big part was just learning that I can still learn new things. I'm not the old dog that can't learn new tricks. I'm far stronger than even I already thought that I was. I think 2020 was a huge test to a lot of our character, and I think that we definitely all pulled through that pretty well. So that's
Golf clap.
Yeah, that was
Thank
good.
you. Appreciate that.
Got a little tear in my eye from that one.
Damn. Well, I guess we're done with the podcast.
all right, great.
Yeah,
that.
see you guys.
You want to go get a beer?
Jen
Talk
just
about
needs her own-
crime?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
We'll start a different podcast called Beer and Crime. If anyone has a better idea.
I really like what you brought up, that 2020 was such a test. And I think 2020, if you say it wasn't a test to some portion of your life, you didn't learn anything from this year. This was a test for everyone, from just distance learning, washing your hands every time you use the restroom. I mean, if nobody learned anything from this year, they really need to reevaluate themselves. I don't mean to be preachy.
No, and I think, too, from Dano and I's side of it, we've seen a lot of tests here in the last 5-6 years in Sonoma County. We already kind of had that base of okay, we can get through a local crisis, but having it on the global scale and still being able to do what we can when it comes to doing our podcast or virtual events or just the day-to-day, getting through a show without having a mental breakdown, because it's this many people died today, still trying to do your job of entertaining people and still trying to be upbeat when things are, quite frankly, a dumpster fire.
Right.
To what you're saying, I can't remember why it came up. I was talking to a friend about this past year. Life is coming from you. It's coming for you. The Grim Reaper is always positioned as this one dude in a hood with a sickle, and that's the way he's going to get you. But in reality, 2020 showed life is coming for you.
Yeah.
It's gonna get you. And it's gonna get you from any different manner of COVID actually, thinking you can take chloroquine from fish tablets, aquarium tank tablets. Remember that guy who died thinking that if he ate his aquarium tank tablets that had chloroquine?
Oh, that's what I do every morning,
That
actually.
can get you. The money can get you. The stress can get you. The fires can get you. I mean, it's
now
like,
the earthquakes can get you.
it's like being in the Godzilla movie,
Snaders.
and then there's an earthquake, and then the aliens come, and then everybody gets a plague, and it's just
And then Mothra comes out of nowhere.
just like
And then everybody debates about it on Facebook.
yeah, right.
Cthulhu? What's that one? Is that the one from the sea? Why is everyone staring at me like that?
Sorry, you're on your own.
Cthulhu. Who? I'm going to show you guys.
Everyone just had a big question mark over their head.
It's kind of like...
No one.
It's kind of like the Kraken, but it's different.
Narrator. No one knew what she was talking about. So I think it helped to condition your mind a little bit that you can have multiple threats to you in many different areas of your life, and you just keep on surfing. And that's what a lot of it is about.
Yeah, I agree.
It's from H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh,
It's one of
wow.
his.
Jen is, Amber is showing her phone. It is a large...
And it's a picture of Chase Rice.
I've moved on. It's Henry Cavill now.
Okay, Cthulhu. Okay, he looks... It's like a kraken who can walk. It's a giant squid.
Looks like me when someone wakes me up from a nap.
Man, that is...
It kind of looks like
Hey.
what was from Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like, was it Davy Jones?
Yes, Davy Jones.
Yeah,
Is that
so...
the squid dude?
But
Bill
bigger.
Nye with the squid face, but then he can walk around, he's bigger, and he has wings. Interesting.
Yeah, so anyway, he might attack us soon. It's just what I'm saying.
I can see it.
I'll be prepared now. Thank you. See,
You're
now
so
I'm
welcome.
informed.
Yeah.
We're all just riding a wave, it seems like. And we're checking in headlines, seeing what's happening with the world. But that's I guess, probably the biggest lesson that I've learned from 2020. Sometimes you just gotta ride that wave, baby, because you don't know what is going to
spit on you.
happen.
Sorry.
You spit right on my
Spit
face.
guard's not here. I'm used to just
That's
spitting.
why we put it up, not because of the pandemic. And it's just learning to ride that wave. I mean, life can throw such crazy things at you, and you can't. Something that I did is I tried to control everything in my life. I'm a control freak, with my time. I'm a control freak how the next 6 months are gonna go. I'm thinking about how next year's gonna go. But I guess what this year's taught me is you can't do that because you don't know what's gonna happen. Did I expect a pandemic to happen? No.
So weird.
Did I expect what is that? Toodaloo?
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu? How are we saying it now? I don't know.
Chia is gonna come and take over our world. No, and 2020 has been a challenging year, but for me personally, I went through a breakup in 2020, and now we're splitting and our lives permanently starting in 2 weeks, and so I just gotta ride the wave. I can't control everything, so sometimes life just happens.
But are you on a boogie board, or are you on a surfboard, or are you
Surfboard.
board? Are you on
Wakeboard.
you body surfing? You think?
I think a penny board.
Penny board.
Isn't that a skateboard?
Yeah, it's a teeny tiny skateboard.
But you're in the ocean.
Well, I'm never on the ocean because I can't swim. So you have to remember that.
Whoa,
He's in a surfboard. He's in a surfing simulator.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I have
failing
VR
miserably.
on. It's those videos of people running into their TVs and stuff with those virtual reality sets. That's me. That's how close I'll get to an actual wave.
He's playing Kelly Slater Pro Surfer on PS2
Yes.
in 2003 with me in my college dorm.
Yep.
That was
When he
really-
wasn't
totally
born yet.
Well, I think my lesson from 2020 is it's going to be right in line with what you're saying. But I ended up approaching it, the management aspect of it, from a physical perspective, and really understanding the way that your perception of your life and reality and the world is such a product of the status of your body. The world is a very stressful place, and depending on where you're at physically is going to determine how bad it's going to get to you. If you haven't done things to manage the stress in your body already, and other stressful things start happening, it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. You can physiologically change the way that your body deals with stress. And a small example is, I haven't done a ton of reading about it, but So there's this nerve in your spine called the vagus nerve, and it's very important. And
Vegas.
baby.
Does it like party and have slots and stuff?
What happens in the vagus nerve stays in the vagus nerve.
And it controls a lot of stuff. And please, a doctor who listens to this, please tell me more. I want to know more. But it controls your ability to handle stress. And ways that you can help train your vagus nerve include working out and extreme temperatures. So saunas and ice baths, which I have started doing.
Because stressors are good for you.
That's right. Because it's training your body.
I know a thing or two about
It's
this.
training your body how to deal with crazy stuff. And so the perfect moment for me in this was, I've been working out since May, and I had just a couple weeks ago now, I had done 90 minutes of yoga and then went for a 5-mile run after that. And I'm in the garage and the lights are off and it's raining and I'm sitting there and I'm doing this one particular stretch that's like almost like a Tai Chi, like got my hands over my head and then I go and bring them down, right? No shirt on.
Why did we need to know that?
Couldn't imagine doing that ever.
Didn't need that picture.
My wife Melanie opens the door and she goes, rioters have burst into the Capitol and they're trying to take over the entire country and burn the votes.
Burn the votes, Melanie.
And I just sit there and I sit for a second and I just go, okay.
You didn't run to your phone immediately
Bring it in.
and pull up social, because it's one of those days where social media is just a wildfire.
I definitely wanted to know what was happening, but there was a time where if someone told me something like that, you would you can feel your heart kick in and your adrenaline, you can feel all this crazy stuff. You can feel your face tightening. You can feel all these physiological responses to something that has nothing to do with you. And so it was just a good example to me that you can work on yourself and you can work on your ability. You can't stop the crazy chitulas that are going to come out of the ocean. But you can work on basically like strengthening yourself. Not necessarily working out, but strengthening your ability to deal with it.
I think that's something a lot of us could take in stride, because just analyzing how people are on social media right now, I feel like everyone is wound so tight. Just feel like everyone's gut is a pile of spaghetti and everyone's just tense and everyone wants to rip each other's ears off and slap their grandmas. And
That's why I only post to bless you with pictures of my kids. I clear up the timeline a little bit.
Yeah. I think that being said, you're talking about, healing yourself physically, but I think that's something I did in 2020 was healed myself emotionally. I focused a lot on my mental health in 2020 because frankly, I had the time and was in therapy for a whole year, it seemed like. So 2019 ended quite literally in a bang for me. The beginning of 2020, which seems like forever ago, I mean, it was quite literally a year ago, I was like, I have to do something, not only to focus on particularly what happened to me, but also how I react to situations and how I think about people and how I believe that people think about me and the things that they say and blah, 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 blah. And I dealt with all of that this year. Every single little nook and cranny that I thought was an issue in my brain, I talked it out in therapy. And I even, I'm on medication, I'm on nightmare blockers and Zoloft and things like that. And I used to think there was this stigma around taking medication and going to therapy, but I'm a better person now. So what if I need Zoloft? And I think that's people need to just be okay with that. Be okay with there being something not sitting quite right with yourself and getting help for it. And I think a lot of people did do that this year. And I've been seeing that a lot on social media, trying to break the stigma of, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, whatever it is, people are opening up more about it.
And working on yourself in that way is really no different than getting into the mindset where I'm going to work out, I'm going to get the endorphins going, and my brain is going to feel better.
Right.
It's the same thing, but you're right. There is a stigma attached to the therapy, and if you need to take medication, you need to take medication. Why?
Yeah.
However we choose to better ourselves, I say go for it. That's your own journey, and I'm super proud of you for doing it because
Thanks.
I know that you were a little hesitant at first because you were like, people are going to think I'm crazy. I'm going to therapy.
Well, people already do think I'm crazy.
People
So
think
why
we're
not?
all crazy.
So why not?
We're
If
in
they already
radio.
think
We're all
it's-
nuts.
I definitely notice I react to things a lot better. Like I don't take things as personally, which was a huge goal for me in 2020. And I think the pandemic had something to do with a lot of that too. I was just like, there's like worse shit happening in the world than like how I took this text messages from so and so. Like I shouldn't care, right? Who cares?
Yeah.
I feel like, we just kind of move on with our lives and the best we can at this point.
Isn't it interesting to figure out how something left unsaid or something you've never vocalized can internalize and stick in your body, like can cause stress and can cause bad thoughts and bad energy.
Right.
And it's as simple as talking to someone, your therapist or a friend or whoever, and having someone else say, is that really true? Whatever it is that you tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not confident, I'm not, and then have them ask you, is that really true? And literally it's like a knot in your body, and it just, as soon as you start talking, it sort of unravels a little bit, and it's still there, but it's not knotted up. It's weird. 2021. What are we looking forward to? Something we're looking forward to. We can go in the same order. Jen, you went first.
A couple things. I am actually starting a new position here in the building. I will still be hands-on on air on Froggy, still be doing promotions, but I am actually taking over the traffic manager position, which is scheduling all of our commercials that air. It's one of the few things in the industry that I didn't know how to do already. And with Lindsay leaving, the opportunity was offered to me, and I figure, why not learn a new skill? So I'm excited to kind of get my hands in there and learn that process. My biggest thing that I'm looking forward to, one of which is actually not happening until 2022, but it's live concerts.
Oh, I
Because
can't
I
wait.
have concert tickets, and I am just waiting for that day. Harry Styles is supposed to happen in September, and I just know that that's not happening. But eventually, I'm going to see Harry Styles. And next January, I'm going to go see Circus Survive for the 10th anniversary on the 12th year of a release of an album.
You should
So,
you should
it's okay.
frame all the concert tickets that you own that you've never been able to use.
I have so many because
bet-
of giveaways of tickets that we gave away, and it's like I've got a stack of Rascal Flatts tickets that can't be used because they got canceled.
I think that might be a giant collector item in like 30 years.
Yeah.
It's like the year where concerts didn't happen.
The tickets to the Rascal Flatts farewell tour that never happened.
Lady Antebellum, Jake Owen, and Maddie
Maddie
and
and
Tay
Tay
are not going to be at the Shoreline on July 31st.
Thomas Rhett will not be headlining his first show at the Shoreline this year.
What was the last show everyone's been to before COVID started?
Incubus.
Damn.
Country summer.
No, I think it was Luke Bryan at the Shoreline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
had
we
fun
went
there.
together.
I got really, really drunk.
I mean, if you're at a Luke Bryan concert and you're not, no.
Well, mine would have been Nashville, because remember, I was in Nashville like moments before. I actually think I got, frankly, I think I got COVID in Nashville because I came home and was dog sick. And then weeks later, we all learned about this thing.
Did you have COVID?
I think I did, honestly. I mean, but
I think Tanner had COVID. He denies it.
Around Christmas time, I was the most sick I have ever been.
this year?
No, not this Christmas, the year
like
before.
2019.
Okay.
Like before we knew about the COVID.
I was the most sick I've ever been in my entire life, like going home. I was putting a damp towel on my head when I went home.
You had consumption.
He was nasty.
You're on the Oregon Trail.
Yeah, and I lost my voice at one point, and like it was super bad. And Amber thinks I had COVID, but I don't think I had COVID.
I think I had it from Nashville because I came home. I was smoked. If you guys recall, I actually took a sick day. Like I cannot come into work. I'm
Yeah,
so sick,
I
and I
remember
never
that.
do that. Now I think everyone. By the way, side note, I think something else the world has learned. Let's take some sick days in the future. But I came home and then my whole family got smoked too. They all got this terrible, terrible cold. So it was at that time you would just say something like, "There's something going around this year," before we had names for stuff. But
Remember when people would just get sick all the time and be like, "Oh, well, You know that guy, he's coughing over there. Maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. I'll still give him a hug. I don't care.
Oh, I don't care. Come here.
Yeah.
So I was in Nashville in February 2020, and so that was my last live concert. And so, but that was everybody. That was that Reba, Keith Urban, Carrie Underwood, Brothers Osborne, Luke Bryan, Florida Georgia Line, everybody. So that was my last concert.
Garth.
Yeah. Yes, Garth.
Can't leave out Garth.
Eric Church, Miranda Lambert. The list goes on. Tanner, something you're looking forward to?
I'm completely starting from scratch. It seems like 2021 mentioned. Don't talk about it very often. I feel like I'm talking about it more than I'm comfortable with it. The breakup, of course, was the end of 2020. I'm probably going to be moving out of my apartment to another apartment in Sonoma County. I'm thinking Roanoke Park. I think I'm going to learn about myself a whole lot more this year. I'm going to work on me, going to focus on me. When you're in a relationship for a long time, I feel like I've forgotten my own identity because I've always been attached to something. And there's nothing wrong with that per se, but I'm someone who I was a very independent person before I got into a long-term relationship. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that, getting like a coffee table again and like a new TV again. And it kind of feels like the same feelings I had when I first moved here to Sonoma County, like when I didn't have a lot, but like I'd slowly but surely started like building a life for myself here and kind of doing that again a little bit. But I'm really optimistic about this year. I think this is going to be one of the best years I've had in a long time.
Woo!
I'm really hoping I can see some freaking listeners again, because that is, I think, the thing I missed most in 2020 was being able to talk to the people that listen to our station and help us keep our jobs and are such a big part of our lives. They've heard our experience with COVID, whether it's on the air, on social media, or Facebook messages, but I really miss the Tammys from Forestville, the Rays from Santa Rosa, the Reggie from Healdsburgs, the big listeners that we talk to on social media.
Can't forget about Pete from Petaluma.
Goodness
gracious.
Course.
Paul from Sebastopol.
Paul from Sebastopol, the best. He taught me how to shoot a gun in 2020. Very thankful for him.
Brian
from Sebastopol.
You were really getting ready for some shit to go down.
I know. I was like, the Civil War's happening. I gotta be ready.
The Civil War.
Kind of did, actually.
Honestly.
I've seen some of our listeners like Brian and Paul, but I'm really looking forward to, us popping up that tent again at a hardware store. And
Jen, you looking forward to that? Or popping up the tent?
The whole process of lugging the tent and the equipment is not nice on my old body, but I missed country summer. I
really
missed
did,
like when we do the food fund out at Grocery Outlet, that's like a 16-hour day for me, and I'm usually on my feet the whole time. It always ends up raining, and when you're in the middle of it, you're just like, I'm so tired, but at the end of the day, it's so rewarding to know that together our team and our community came together and we raised so much food for the Redwood Empire Food Bank. So I think I miss having those like traditional milestones where we're directly affecting the community, which I know that we do every day in what we do for a living, but the getting out there and having like the kids come and drop off their coins, or the companies come out and say, here's $1,000, let's get as many cans as I can. I miss those things.
I feel like that's such a big part of what Froggy 92.9 is. This year we've been trying to carry that same spirit in 2020, but God, the first weekend Amber and I were here, we were introduced to the community by selling t-shirts to raise funds for the Tubbs fire victims. And that's what it's about, making an impact on your community and trying to love one another and just trying to do charitable and good things. I really miss that. And I feel like that's such a big thing of like what I love about being a morning show personality is being able to talk to people. And I don't know if it's going to be the same, because obviously everyone's going to be like bowing to each other when we see each other now. I don't know how that's going to roll out, when our first event's going to be, but I'm really looking forward to it. I really am.
Yeah, everyone calls us and is like, we should get a beer when all this mess is over. I love how it's always a beer, which I'm cool with, but...
Yeah, but when it adds up, we're going to be drinking a lot of beer at one point.
Are you guys paying, or like...
Hey, Third Street Ale Works.
Party at Third Street Ale Works.
We've heard that one a few times. You guys all know Ray. Ray goes, we're getting drunk at 3rd Street Ale Works when this is over.
He calls it the 3rd Street Ale
The-
Works. That's
I love
cute.
it.
Yeah, he's great.
Amber, what are you looking forward to?
Speaking of 3rd Street Ale Works, it's funny because, like, from a friend of a friend, they were like, let Amber know if she needs help with her wedding to let us know. So that's going to be something that I'm doing 2021 is trying to plan a wedding in the middle of a pandemic. I don't know what's going to happen.
In the
But it's
latter
been-
half of a pandemic. We're out of the middle now.
I guess I don't know, but it's been really interesting seeing how certain businesses work through the pandemic. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of like the hotels and events people have been furloughed or laid off, and that's like really sad. But I'm hoping they'll pick back up and things will like return to normal. But I've been focusing on that, but also 2021, I have recently approached Jim about trying to music schedule. So I've been working on that low key.
Wow.
Trying to learn more about the station and learn more about why we do what we do and why we play certain songs and why we play them here. Because a lot of our listeners are been messaging me just recently and they're like, why do you play this song all the time, every day? So understanding like the formula and the format for things has been really helpful, and I think it's gonna make us better DJs in the long run. Because I'm gonna tell Tanner everything. He's gonna hear about it. Because Jim's been in my office every day this week, and poor Tanner's been sitting there trying to work, and Jim's like, "It's a patch code 3."
He goes, that's a power light.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm the video guy over here.
It's been really interesting learning, and he's a great teacher too. Danny,
Jim is our boss.
yeah, sorry.
Operations manager, Jim Murphy.
I forgot we were doing a podcast. Figured talking to you guys. What about you, Dano?
Keeping it going. Everything that we talked about today, and everything, if you're listening, you've learned things too, and you've done things differently. I think about how much gas has been wasted between 1950 and 2019, driving to work, driving home, driving to work, driving home, driving to work, driving home, when how much of that has been easily done over Zoom. It doesn't mean that I want everything to be over Zoom, but let's say we went to 20% remote working for some of these, especially these tech jobs,
Yeah.
where the people are on their own. I don't know that that's the end of the world. You always hear that before, and it'd be like, that lazy person, they're not going into the office every day. And I think we've gotten a really forced take on maybe that's not the end of the world, and everything we've talked about, some benefits. We took time and invested in ourselves, in our health. That the best thing that maybe could have ever happened, for the worst reason. I hope we can keep it going, because 9/11 happened, and there was this moment where the entire country snapped together, and for a brief period, everybody was I'm an American. People were really connected. It's an awful time, but it was also, that part was really great. And it's gone. It did leave. People they'll never be the same after this. It went back. So my hope is that, one, I want COVID to end, but two, that at least some of the things that we've learned from all this can keep around. I hope people can keep their momentum up.
I just feel really bad for Skype because they really dropped the ball. On this
Skype, not a thing. Skype has been waiting for years for people to care about Skype. And it's here comes the moment for Skype to be number one, not happening.
No, it's all of
What
a sudden
happened?
the word is Zoom, and it's I've never heard of Zoom, but okay.
They must have did some incredible marketing. I don't know where it came from, who invented it, what it is. Really, still don't know how to use it sometimes.
My thing is that I really like that. Do y'all remember Soulja Boy? Anybody?
Oh, yeah. Soldier boy up in the, want me to crank. Oh, sorry, I know the whole song. I know the whole
Keep
dance.
going. Why not?
Watch me
Please
crank
don't.
that
Watch
soldier
me.
boy to
Watch
man.
you, man.
Oh, now watch me
Zoom. So every time somebody would say they're going to be a Zoom, I'd be like, well, watch me Zoom. And I'm the only person who would get that, because only I would made that connection. But I still do that every time I hear it. Zoom.
Because you are a creature of odd habits.
Zoom, man, watch me Zoom. So
This reminds me of the text we were sending last night when Jim was saying her her neighbor got tested for COVID or something like
yeah.
that. And Dana was like, yeah, but did she test positive for the Minnesota Vikings? I was like, please stop. It's just not even...
I do love that through 2020,
Lizzo.
Amber has
Lizzo.
learned to say, please stop, Dan.
Yeah.
I was
Because
mostly
she
like,
couldn't do that in 2019.
these two right here, I'm just like, I hate you guys. Like, say the weirdest stuff sometimes.
Amber also didn't appreciate my response to the earthquake last night that we had here.
What did you say? Oh, I shouldn't have dropped it so low.
Yeah.
I was like, I literally hate you. When I say that, when I say stuff like that, I think it's funny, but like, I hate that I think it's funny. You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
The last thing I want to say that Tanner touched on this a little bit, but we all four of us would like to thank you listening to this podcast, you listening to the radio station, you commenting and interacting on social with Froggy 92.9. The station, miraculously, is as strong as ever.
Woo!
We actually had a good year. We're doing well. We're not soaring now. I mean, it's not like all-time record highs, but you know, in radio as a whole across the country saw major shifts and changes and cuts and on and on and on. And because of Sonoma County's support, we're intact and doing fine and looking forward to a brighter 2021. And so we just want to thank you for everything, all of our advertisers and clients and supporters and listeners, and sometimes those are one and the same. And we want to thank you very much. It means a lot to us, and we hope that you enjoy stuff like this. And welcome back to the Inside Froggy 92.9 podcast, kicking off 2021 strong.
Inside Froggy 92.9 with Jen, Dano, and Amber and Tanner in the morning. Hit subscribe now if you haven't already, and stay up to date with the team on Instagram or Facebook. Follow @Froggy929. Inside Froggy 92.9 from Amaturo Sonoma Media Group.